298.5%. That's the tax Canada hits American butter with, if we ship even a pound over quota. Cheese. It's slammed with a 245.5% penalty. It sounds like a joke, but it's real, and it's crippling the US dairy industry. We're not banned. We're being frozen out, literally, by tariffs. Canada uses something called a tariff rate quota. Low tax if you're under quota. But cross the line. Game over. Over quota butter is taxed nearly 3 times its value. That means every extra shipment becomes a guaranteed loss. The goal? Protect Canadian farmers. But there's a twist. The problem isn't the tariff itself, it's who gets the quota access. And guess what? It's not US exporters. Most of the quota goes to Canadian giants like Loblaws and Metro, not to American producers. So US dairy giants get boxed out, even if they've got orders lined up. Mozzarella, cheddar, powdered milk, they're stuck in limbo, rotting in warehouses. Some try freezing entire shipments to survive. Others dump them on the US market at a loss. That dump? It's crushed raw milk prices across the Midwest. 47% of mid-sized farms reported losses this year alone. A Pennsylvania farm with 400 cows saw a 28% income drop. It's not just about milk, it's about a collapsing system. The US has already lost $7 billion in 18 months. That includes $3 billion in cancelled orders, storage costs, and destroyed value. And $4 billion more in falling prices, lost jobs, and shuttered plants. Meanwhile, Canada claims it's following the USMCA deal to the letter. But tensions keep rising. No WTO case yet. But patience is wearing thin. The US could push harder, or take Canada to court, but it's an election year. And if nothing changes, US dairy exports to Canada could vanish entirely. Washington offered an $850 million aid package, but that barely scratches the surface. Without real negotiation or enforcement, family farms will vanish, and exporters will collapse. It's not just about trade anymore, it's about strategy. Can the US enforce fair access to foreign markets? Will Canada reform its protectionist system? If this drags into 2026, the price will be paid by farmers and consumers. Because once trust in trade dies, it takes industries with it. And dairy isn't the only one under fire. On July 11th, Trump slapped a 35% tariff on Canadian steel and aluminum. Canada answered with a $22 billion counterstrike, including a 50% tariff on key US auto parts. Suddenly, US EV motors shot up 12% in price. Beer cans? About to cost more too. Steel prices surged. Ford pickup frames now cost $60 more per ton. The Midwest cold rolled steel index jumped. Aluminum premiums spiked. Ford warned each truck could now cost up to $8,000 more. And they can't pass all of it to customers. Total annual cost to US consumers? Over $30 billion. Why? Because 90% of US steel imports come from Canada. Canada didn't just retaliate, they went strategic. They invested $4.8 billion to modernize their steel plants, going green. Hamilton and Sault Ste. Marie got billions for clean tech furnaces. They passed a law, only Canadian steel in federal projects. They even blocked Chinese steel rerouted through the US. Now Canada's shifting from export to domestic use, steel for wind farms, public works, EVs. Their export volume may drop, but their internal market's rising fast. Meanwhile, in Michigan and Indiana, factories are halting shifts. Input costs are too volatile. Expansion plans are frozen. Even beer might get more expensive. And steel workers on both sides of the border are paying the price. But Canada played the long game. Since 2022, they've poured billions into upgrading steel, not just reacting with tariffs. And now the US is paying for its tariff gamble, with auto jobs and higher prices. On June 30th, Canada made another major move, its first direct LNG shipment to South Korea. No US pipelines. No Panama Canal. Just pure Canadian gas heading across the Pacific. This isn't just about energy, it's about independence. Canada can now bypass the US entirely and sell gas at 1/3 the American price. Japan, Korea, and China are ready to buy. This new route means faster shipping, no US tolls, and lower costs. In Canada's project will soon produce 14 million tons annually, just phase 1. It's backed by Shell, Mitsubishi, PetroChina. And the price, just $1.10 per MMBTU, compared to $3.75 in the US. This is Canada rewriting its role in global energy. But it's also a warning shot to the US, tariffs have consequences. And then there's the pharmaceutical time bomb. Trump just announced a 200% tariff on imported drugs starting August 1st. That means cancer drugs, insulin, even basic antibiotics could get 6x more expensive. 80 to 90% of pharma ingredients come from China and India. Healthcare costs could jump 25% this fall alone. Hospitals are sounding the alarm. This is not a drill. Australia's fighting back. Canada's preparing reserves and subsidies. But the biggest cost? It's not political, it's personal. Millions of Americans could pay the price with their health. From dairy to steel, ink to medicine, every tariff has a ripple effect. Every trade war leaves damage. And sometimes, what starts as policy, ends in crisis. If you're tired of trade games becoming economic disasters, share this video. Subscribe to the Untold Compass and drop a comment. Should the US keep playing tariff hardball, or rethink the strategy?